it's January 2025, and what I will be discussing in this video, which is an expansion of my previous two videos, is something that I've discussed in more recent videos. For example, when guilty and innocent people are convicted. And there's another video, I forget what it's titled exactly, but it had to do with simply because a legal case didn't turn out the way you wanted it to doesn't mean there's injustice. In those videos I talk more in depth. Now this is going to be a continuation of my previous two videos, somewhat, with more focus on one specific topic. And my previous two videos had to deal with the protests of rubber and it all being a psyop. And as I've stated, it met many elements, if not most elements of a psyop, a legitimate psyop. And I'm not just throwing that word around willy-nilly like most truther and freedom types do. Now, what I would like to focus on here is how everyone's talking about injustice and how sad it is how the men who were convicted, who were related to the protest of rubber, what they've experienced. And I've talked in other videos about, for example, why they were held, why they were detained in jail until their trial, and you can watch those videos as well. But I want to highlight, using my case, my story in Alberta, Canada, because my story, what is unique about it, is I have a plethora of independent evidence supporting everything, right from the sexual abuse, trafficking of vulnerable women at a mental health nonprofit organization, to police, judicial, political corruption, and other peripheral matters as well. A plethora of independent evidence that separates my story from most others. Now, I'm not stating or implying that people who may not have any evidence of injustice never experience injustice. I'm just saying what separates mine from pretty much most others. Now, I'm going to highlight 3 examples of many of what injustice actually looks like. The first one I would like to address are the trial transcripts, or perhaps even just transcripts overall. And for those who may not know what a transcript really is, it is the printed word of everything that is said verbatim. Nothing could be changed, nothing can be taken out, nothing can be added. It has to be verbatim. There's a reason why. For example, going to appeals or whatever, other court cases, you need to be able to say, oh, this is exactly what was said. Now, in my case, and the evidence that I have, not from me, but from others, proves that the trial transcripts were tampered with. Now, the first time I noticed this was after former officer Kendall testified the first time. The whole redirect went missing. And that redirect was when he incriminated himself and his partner by admitting what they did to me and why. Gone. There's nothing that I can do about it. I don't have access to any of that. Now, I did at one point request to hear the audio version, and that audio version had a glitch at that point. There's nothing I can do about it. Now, over the years, there would be 4 versions of trial transcripts, each slightly different. And the 4th version, when I had my 4th lawyer, and I believe it was the 6th Crown prosecutor, they were asking me, this is for the Court of Appeal at the provincial level, they were asking me about, there are things that have been omitted, redacted. And that initial email, they said there was 2. Then I have an email I guess they're going through it, I think there was about 17 more examples. And there's plenty more. Now that would be an example of injustice. Tampering with trial transcripts. Again, proven. Not just by my word, but by other people inquiring, as well as the actual trial transcript. The fourth one showing omitted by request. Now I would guess that whoever was in charge of those transcripts realized that there was some heat coming down about my case, and probably, more than likely, to cover their butts, they were including that in the fourth version. It's in print. So there's one example of injustice. Another example would be having the lead counsel for the city of Calgary, so now this is political, interfering with the trial overall, to the point where even, I don't know about the first lawyer, but the second lawyer being threatened by this individual, and this individual is no longer lead counsel for the city of Calgary. That is a form of injustice, which can be proven through audio recordings. Now, a third example of injustice, let's look at the conviction itself. To be convicted in a criminal court has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm going to segue for a moment. In civil court, it's based on the balance of probabilities. Two different tests in two different courts. Going back to my case, 3 times in the conviction, wrongful convictions, of allegedly assaulting a police officer in obstruction, the so-called trial judge cast doubt 3 times on my guilt, but yet I'm still guilty. What that means, I'm going to explain this in crayon, is that I wasn't convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. I couldn't have been. Meanwhile, during all this, the 2 now former officers, Kinnell and Hayhurst, are no longer officers. And people are getting shuffled around, and there was issues with the police chief. One had quit, the other one, they had a temporary one. It was just a mess. A lot of things went down because I probably had the biggest mouth. And as I said before, there are other people like me, but perhaps I'm just the one with the biggest mouth, or I'm just too stupid to stop. So 3 examples of what injustice, real injustice, looks like in a criminal matter. Again, supported with plethora of independent evidence. When we tie this in, compare it to what took place with these men, and I just want to be very clear about something. I'm not trying to come down hard on these men who were convicted. I'm not. My point has always been coming down hard on society, the common person. Yes, that is who I'm coming down hard on. I'm using them as examples. These people went to extremes and ended up having charges and being convicted of those charges that they were guilty of, and they admitted to their guilt. I know that goes against all hopes and prayers from the people who supported them. And because of that, they think that, oh, this is injustice. There were no political prisoners. and the worldwide attention that they were getting, a lot of it was fake. And this is how it all ties in with it being a psyop. Now, in today's world, there's so many things going on. We just have back-to-back and even overlapping psyops happening all the time. And I'm just generalizing many different events under the umbrella of psyops, but the protest of rubber was definitely one of them, because it has many, if not most, of the elements of a real psyop by definition and by experts. I'm not stating any of these experts had made a statement saying that the protest of rubber was a psyop, but when you look at the elements that make up one, yes. Truthers and freedom types can see psyops for the mainstream, but they can't see the psyops made for them, because as a descriptive, they're the opposite of what mainstream gets, so they think, well, this has to be true. I've highlighted even, for example, the two so-called wonder drugs of Ivor and Hydro, how they came out at the same time as this other alleged cure that a lot of people didn't want to take. All these things are happening, and everything is being thrown at people so fast, so hard for a brief time, boom, we go off to the next. Just like we see with the protests of rubber. It was all over the news and talking about leaders and heroes and all this other stuff, and then fizzled out, which is a sign of a psyop, a real psyop. But my real focus with this video is to give 3 examples of many with my case on what injustice really looks like. And that's all I want to share. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.